Happy New Year, everybody. A new year means new months, and new months mean new games. And I'm gonna be honest, after last year, which was just kind of game after game after game after game, I'm happy to report this month is kind of light on game releases. But that doesn't mean there's not some cool stuff coming out. So here are January 2024's biggest game releases. As always, a friendly reminder that we strive for perfection here at IGN and consistently fall short of it, but that doesn't mean we're not trying, we're just humans. So please bear in mind, we're all doing our very best to make these monthly videos thorough and 100% accurate, but games do sometimes get delayed, announced, and occasionally flat out canceled last minute, and of course the rogue clerical error or oversight does happen from time to time. Last month, we completely forgot about the VR RPG Asgards Wrath 2, which hit the newer MetaQuest headsets on December 15th, and it should not be slept on if you're one of those MetaQuest headset owners. IGN gave this game a 10 out of 10, and we were not the only ones who were so stoked about it. As of me shooting this video, it is sitting at a 93 on Metacritic, which is very, very, very good.
Your fate is mine.
Meanwhile, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2 was at one point supposedly coming out last month, and in the last video I speculated that the guy who plays Captain Titus would come out at the Game Awards on stage and announce the new release date, which I guessed would be in April. I got a third of that right. We did get a release date, but it's September 9th, and the news came by way of a new trailer, not the Space Marine man himself. Anyway, I'm kind of skeptical of having a hard release date locked down so far in advance, so now I'm guessing it gets delayed. Just a hunch. Prove me wrong and make the Emperor proud, you interstellar jarheads. Make a cool game that comes out on September 9th.
My pledge is eternal service.
But I digress. You're not here for December's games or September's games. You're here to talk about what's coming out in January. If you're not already depressed thanks to seasonal affective disorder compounded by a post-holiday crash, kick that misery into overdrive with War Hospital, a strategy game about treating injured soldiers in a World War I field hospital, which is such a bleak premise, it's almost comical. That was supposed to be out last year, but it got delayed, and on the 11th, it is finally hitting PC, PS5, and Xbox Series. On the 15th, if you're somehow already bored of Baldur's Gate 3, Sovereign Syndicate might scratch a similar itch. It is a Victorian steampunk isometric RPG with a combat system that uses tarot cards instead of dice. That's on PC. Also on PC that same day is Time Survivors, and as the title suggests, this is a Vampire Survivors-like that is less about bloodsuckers and more about historical figures. But I'm guessing they're not really going for historically accurate here, partially because it features Abraham Lincoln killing triceratopses with an oscillating gauntlet of giant morning stars, but also because the tagline is the most historically inaccurate roguelike ever made. On the 18th is one of the first big games of the year, Ubisoft's rebooted 2.5D Metroidvania spin on Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown, which has some very promising buzz already. Not only is that coming to basically everything, it is also getting a demo a week before launch, which is nice, so if you're on the fence about that, you can take it for a spin on the 11th. Bulletstorm VR was supposed to be out last month, but that got delayed to this month, and on the 18th it is finally out for all of those funny little VR headsets that you put on your head like a hat and then play the games with it. Go on, go do that.
I need you here, right now.
Also on the 18th is Fractured Veil, a survival game set on scenic tropical Maui, but 100 years in the future when everything is even more horrible than it already is now. Therefore you have to build a fort out of garbage and then fight mutants using a weaponized ukulele, because video games. Then on the 19th for PC, there's Retro Wave World, a stylized racing game that looks like a playable version of that Lamborghini poster that they sold at the Scholastic Book Fair in the 1990s. If you understood that reference, you might also be nostalgic for a car game with way sexier graphic design and way cooler music than was actually prevalent in the 1980s. Look, I know, I love Patrick Nagel and Desert Chrome and the Drive soundtrack, but sometimes I wish we'd get an authentically ugly throwback 80s game that was a little less neon bikinis and Ferrari Testarossas and a little more beige sweaters and Chrysler LeBarons. I can't imagine why that's not in higher demand. Apologies if you don't care about my unpopular opinions, but YouTube's video algorithm seems to favor longer videos these days, so the occasional tangent really helps pad out that runtime. On the 19th, the Nintendo Switch gets Another Code Recollection, which is a remake of the narrative puzzle adventure Nintendo DS game Trace Memory, known as Another Code: Two Memories outside of North America, and its Wii sequel, Another Code R: A Journey into Lost Memories, which was never released stateside. If you're able to decode any of that, you'll probably do just fine solving some puzzles in the video game I just told you about. Also on the 19th, The Last of Us Part 2 gets an official PS5 remaster, which features an all-new roguelike mode called No Return, plus some lost levels with director commentary, a guitar free-play mode, plus all of the bells and whistles you might expect from a next-gen port. That's $70 if you buy it for the first time, but it's only a $10 upgrade if you already own The Last of Us Part 2, physically or digitally on PS4, which isn't too terrible considering all of the stuff they added. On the 23rd, the dark fantasy FPS puzzle action game Graven leaves early access on PC, and this one wears its Heretic inspirations on its sleeve, or I guess the sequel Hexen. I feel like everybody remembers Hexen better, but I played a ton of Heretic, and I specifically remember loving the cheat codes. If you typed cock-a-doodle-doo, it turned you into a chicken, and you could run around pecking people in first person, and if you tried to use the God mode cheat code from Doom, it just killed you instantly, which is pretty funny. Great game. Anyway, will Graven let you turn into a chicken? I don't know. But if you're too much of a chicken to play it on PC, it will be coming to consoles later in the year.
Graven.
On the 24th, PC players have their choice of Roots of Igdrasil, which is a post-Ragnarocalyptic Norse roguelike city builder, or Enshrouded, a 16-player dark fantasy co-op survival action RPG. You think we got enough genres in there? On the 25th, Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy is coming to everything. That collects Ace Attorney Apollo Justice, as well as Phoenix Wright's 5th and 6th Ace Attorney outings, Dual Destinies, and Spirit of Justice, and this will be the first time that those games get a physical release outside of Japan, which is great news for people who like to keep all of their boxed games on a big shelf in their study, next to all their leather-bound law books. The 26th is shaping up to be a wonderful day for people who like video games where hot dudes with great hair rip their shirts off and punch each other, and really, what day isn't? But the 26th in particular sees the release of Tekken 8, which is the latest fully new-gen installment of the long-running brawler. This one's coming out swinging with a 32-character roster and a whole heat system, which, as you might expect, involves a status bar that will cause characters to have glowing auras and presumably punch each other harder than they do normally. That's on new-gen and PC. Another series famous for its hot dudes with heat gauges hitting each other is Like a Dragon, formerly known as Yakuza, and the newest installment in the long-running series, Infinite Wealth, will see longtime protagonist Kazuma Kiryu teaming up with its newer hero Ichiban Kasuga. When Kasuga took the reins in 2020's Yakuza Like a Dragon, the historically real-time beat-em-up combat shifted to a turn-based system, and that's still mostly the case here, but Kiryu has a special move where he just wails on dudes in real time, despite all the other combat being, like a JRPG. That's one of the many hilarious things this game has going for it. It's also the biggest map of any game in the series to date by a sizable margin, and there's an entire Animal Crossing style minigame where you collect fruit and build chairs and manage an island resort, but you also have to fight off waves of dudes who show up on your beach because it's funny, I guess. I don't know. I was telling myself that this would be the month where I'd finish some of my 2023 backlog, but then I remembered that this game is coming out, which is going to monopolize my time. Anyway, that's on everything but Switch. At some point in January, we are expecting 2 games to hit PC, but we don't have dates for them quite yet. There's Pal World, which you may know better as Pokemon with Guns, which is exactly what it looks like. And then there's Cannibal Tales, which involves eating human flesh. So as of this recording, no exact dates for those, but they are slated for January, so keep an eye out. And there you go. But before we go, here's a friendly reminder that IGN Playlist is a very convenient way to keep track of what is coming out, what you want to play, what you're currently playing, what you already played, what you never want to play again because you hated it. Here's a handy-dandy QR code that'll take you to a list of this month's releases, hand-curated by our producer, handy-dandy Amanda Medina. Hopefully that helps. As always, what do we forget? What are you looking forward to? Let us know in the comments below. Happy New Year, everybody. I will see you in February, the Kissers month. Mwah!